It's December 2021 and I am stood on the roof of my hotel in Europe, looking across the Bosporus and into Asia. This is Istanbul. Spanning the Bosporus, Europe and Asia, and empires from the Romans to the Ottomans, Istanbul and its location have made an important global crossroads since Byzantium was founded by the Greeks in the 7th century BCE. Renamed Nova Roma and then Constantinople, as the city became the imperial capital of the Eastern Roman Empire in 330, a role it would keep up until the fall of the Ottoman Empire following World War I. And it's the Ottoman Empire that's had the greatest impact on the city that exists today, with Topkapı Palace being one of the principal sites. Construction on the palace began in 1459, just 6 years after the Ottomans had conquered what was then Constantinople. The complex expanded and evolved over centuries, both as a palace for the Sultan and his harem, as well as the administrative centre of the empire and a holy site, with the Privy Council chamber housing the Chamber of the Sacred Relics, still considered to be the most sacred relics of the Muslim world and attracting Muslim pilgrims even today. Since the fall of the empire, the palace has become a museum, showcasing how the Sultan lived and ran the empire. Though even before the fall of the Ottomans, the palace had been relegated from its primary role at the centre of the empire. In the mid-19th century, as the sultans pivoted away from their roots to adopt a more Western lifestyle, they moved out to the Dolmabahçe Palace, built in the style of the Western palaces of Vienna or Versailles, with grand function rooms and ornate facades overlooking the Bosporus. Today, the Dolmabahçe Palace is also open as a museum, and in part shows how the leaders of the Ottoman Empire became detached from how their subjects lived, which ultimately helped to lead to the fall of the empire. But it's not just the Ottomans who still have a hold on the architecture of the city. Before them, the Eastern Roman Empire had been quite successfully building spectacular structures, such as the iconic Hagia Sophia. Originally built around 360, just 30 years after the city became the capital of the empire, as a cathedral, the building served that role for over a millennium, before being converted by the Ottomans to a mosque. It served that role for nearly half a millennium, before the Republic of Turkey turned it into a museum, which it remained until 2020, when it was converted back to a mosque. As with many of the mosques in the city, it is still possible to visit the Hagia Sophia outside of prayer times. And these days, you can soak in the stunning building for free, as mosques don't charge entry fees. Buildings that have been in constant use for nearly 2 millennia are rare, so it's amazing to be able to stand inside a building that has borne witness to so much history. Hagia Sophia is an example of a cathedral that's been converted into a mosque, but up on the hill above the old town of Istanbul stands the Süleymaniye Mosque, built in the 1550s on the orders of Suleiman the Magnificent, and until 2019 the largest mosque in the city. From the garden of the mosque there are stunning views down the Golden Horn and across the Bosporus. And inside, it's hard to imagine that the building is nearly 500 years old when you compare it to Western European architecture of that time. The Golden Horn is a natural estuary that joins the Bosporus at the point where it becomes the Sea of Marmara. Over the centuries, the channel has helped define the northern boundary of Old Istanbul, and as you head upstream, with the land rising to the hills of Pierre, Loti, you have amazing views back down towards the centre of the city, with the minarets and towers of the city forming a backdrop to the estuary. Heading back down the opposite bank of the Golden Horn, and in the centre of town, you reach the Galata Tower. Originally built as a watchtower in the 14th century, it served several roles over the years before eventually becoming a tourist attraction in the late 20th century. Today, from the viewing platform at the top of the tower, you get some of the best views of the city: the Bosporus Straits, the Golden Horn, the Sea of Marmara, and of course the ability to look at two continents, Asia and Europe, at the same time. Istanbul is famous for its markets, and hopping back across the Golden Horn to the Old City, you reach the Grand Bazaar, one of the largest and oldest covered markets in the world, and often considered to be the first shopping mall, with parts of the market dating back to 1455. Today you can wander around the narrow lanes and passageways, exploring the over 4,000 shops that make up the site. A few hundred yards away down the hill and closer to the Golden Horn is the other major market of the city, the Egyptian Bazaar, more commonly known as the Spice Market. Whilst it's a lot smaller, with less than 90 shops on site, it is the main centre for both spices and sweets, with Turkish delight on display in almost every shop. Down by the Spice Market are the jetties, where regular ferries head off to cross the Bosporus to take you on an intercontinental ferry journey across to Uskudar in the Asian side of the city. From Uskudar, you get some of the best views of old Istanbul, with the palaces, mosques, minarets and towers of this ancient city sitting across the water and continental divide from you. Istanbul Airport is a global hub, with airlines linking the city to most major destinations in Europe, Africa and Asia, as well as selected destinations in North, Central and South America.